So welcome you guys to EQ and You, an event designed to help you discover and develop your emotional intelligence skills, or your EQ. So I'm Joleen Sheldon. I'm the founder and creative director at Emotional Theater, and many of you know Dr. Calvin Lawrence, who is our director of business development, and will be your host tonight through this event. So I'd like to also welcome you to Emotional Theater. It's a platform that aims to build empathy through engaging and entertaining theatrical means. And our goal is to provide you with powerful knowledge and tools that you can use to enhance your relationships, find personal growth, and heighten your self-awareness. Our theater uses augmented reality costumes and fun, engaging activities because we feel that the power of play should not end when you reach adulthood. So I know that all of you agree with that. So I would like to just open it up for us to do some quick introductions before we jump in. So whoever would like to start, please do so.
I'll go ahead and start.
Great.
Hi, I'm Jackie Scully. I have had the pleasure to interview both Joleen and Calvin on my podcast, The Teacher's Story. And it's a podcast to elevate teacher voices and all of those in education and really doing great work with kids. And when I came across both what Joleen and Calvin were doing, I just thought it was amazing. It's so important in schools. I teach high school, so even up to the high school level, I think it's really important because a lot of kids are struggling with their emotions and being able to express them and reach out when they need something. So I think that building the EQ early on is really great. So I love this series and I love what you're doing. I love this collaboration. Also high school teacher in Jersey. I've been teaching 18 years. And I'm rocking my alma mater tonight, Westchester. Everybody knows about this school across the country. No, they don't. If you're in the tri-state area, it is like one of the biggest like teacher universities in the area. So, you know,
yay,
New York,
proud.
Yeah, but you know, Colorado, they probably have never heard of it. Texas probably never heard of it. That's okay.
I've heard of it, Jackie. You know, I'm from Virginia, so I know all those Eastern Pennsylvania all the way up schools. So yes,
okay.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey,
Well,
Jackie, did you tell us what you teach?
Oh, I teach history and psychology, and specifically world history right now and AP psychology. And psychology is really like my like jam. I love it, and very much tied. We talk about EQ a lot. So I had a student this past spring that said, you know what? I think EQ is more important than like your IQ or any other type of intelligence. And I'm like, yes.
And you get an A for that because that is astute and so spot on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Can go next. My name is Solveiga, and it's nice to be here again. I really enjoyed the last workshop. It was amazing. So I look forward for this one. And I do HR and career coaching. So in HR, we assess other people EQ. We don't talk about us. No, I'm joking, but it's an important topic, and I look forward to know what I can learn. I think we always can grow and improve ourselves. And I just started my own consultancy a few months ago, so I look forward to learning from others. And Calvin is amazing. He's my supporter. He's always writing these nice notes and mentoring and encouraging. So here I am.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you.
So Vega, where are you from?
Lithuania.
Yes.
And I worked at school before too. So I can definitely relate of all the teachers, and I appreciate teachers and principals. That it's really like you're doing so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Chad, are you with us, or should we?
I am with you. I hate to be driving, but I wanted to listen in on it.
Yeah.
My name is Chad Burnham. I was a network director at the University of Denver for 30 years and ran a large team of people. And I wish I had taken more on emotional intelligence earlier in my career, but I was able to go through a leadership program and really focus in on myself. And in that teachings and my cohort, we did a lot with EQ, and I have a new respect for it, and I try to draw upon it each and every day. I've moved into consulting, so I have a number of clients and customers, and I have to interface with them in a number of ways. And I think this is a great area of focus and somewhere I can learn every day. So glad I can be part of this. I'm sorry I missed the first one, but I'm here today.
Yes, you're here today. Thank you for joining us.
Chan, I'm with you. I wish I had this I could go back 40 years, but at least 20 years of my career. But I had it when I was an administrator and a leader working with people. People can be tough. It's about, and you said it, it's about focusing in on myself, because I can't control what other people do, but I really can't control what I do. And if I learn how to get the techniques right and think about what I'm doing before I do it, it makes all the difference in the world. So great to have you here, man.
Yes, thank you very much. I agree with everything you just said there. Great stuff. Thank you.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you for everyone being here again and for sharing. And so during this two-part event, we will have covered 8 core competencies of emotional intelligence in total. So 4 personal competencies that make up our intrapersonal skills were covered last session. And I'll drop a link so you can watch that session whenever you like in its entirety at a later time. So 4 social competencies that make up our interpersonal skills will be covered tonight. So we will delve into the videos from our Emotions 101 EQ video series. The series contains 40 engaging videos, and today we will focus on 4. They are Why Emotions Are Contagious, which is video 34, Developing Rapport, which is video 36, Developing Empathy, which is video 37, and Effective Listening, which is video 38. So we're going to get this show started and jump right into our first video, which is Why Emotions Are Contagious. And we're going to learn about our mirror neurons in our brain.
There is no doubt that how we feel is influenced by the people around us. However, most people do not know how powerful those influences are. Our brain is designed to learn from others and mirror those around us. This is referred to as social learning. In fact, in our brains, we have what is called mirror neurons, which fire when we observe actions performed by another, triggering us to engage in the same action. For example, our physical body will mimic someone else when we observe the person crossing their legs or yawning. Have you ever heard that yawns are contagious? Mirror neurons is why. More importantly, our brain assesses others' emotional states and then reflects or mimics what is observed, influencing how we feel and our physical actions. This is called empathy. Some of us are more influenced by others' emotions than others, depending on our level of empathy. You may have noticed that when someone you know is extremely excited, it makes you excited. Or perhaps you found that when you talk to someone who is crying, you walk away feeling sad. Emotions are contagious. This is incredibly important to understand. So, how powerful is this influence? In 2000, the journal Psychological Science published a study in which participants were found to be influenced by seeing an image for just 30 milliseconds. This is not enough time for participants to see the image consciously, being aware of what they're actually seeing, but their unconscious minds could interpret the image and react to it. In the experiment, participants were shown a face with either a happy, sad, or a neutral expression. Since it was for only 30 milliseconds, milliseconds, they were not aware of what expression they were being exposed to. When they were shown images displaying happiness, their bodies reacted by increasing the electrical activity in the muscles needed to put on a smile. This also happened to those exposed to images of sadness. Their bodies reacted by increasing electrical activity to the muscles needed to put on a frown. What is powerful is that participants were seeing the images for just 30 milliseconds. Now imagine the impact that the people around you who are expressing a strong emotional state can have on your body's reaction beyond that 30 milliseconds. Another study that was published found that we are also influenced by observing another person experiencing physical sensations. In the study, they showed participants videos of a hand that is placed into either visibly cold or visibly hot water. They found that the observing participants' hand temperature actually changed based on what they saw in the video. When participants saw someone put their hand in cold water, their hand dropped in temperature. These studies, among many others, truly demonstrate that those around us can influence us at a very deep level. So, ask yourself, who is influencing you? Who do you interact with frequently? What emotional state do they tend to be in? What can you do to limit your exposure to those who may negatively influence your emotions? How can you surround yourself with more people that will fire mirror neurons towards an emotional state that you want to experience more often?
Okay. Amazing, right?
Amazing.
So, as a recap to this video, we have mirror neurons in our brain that fire when we observe actions performed by others that trigger us to engage in the same action. An example of this is mimicking someone who crosses their legs or yawns. It's contagious, right? You all get that influence with a yawn. Our unconscious mind can pick up cues from observing others in just milliseconds. I mean, I can't even put my fingers that close together on how quick that is. So you should ask yourself, who do I interact with frequently?
Right.
What emotional state do they tend to be in? And what can you do to limit your exposure to those who may negatively influence your emotions? How can you surround yourself with more people like Dr. Calvin Lawrence who will fire more mirror neurons towards an emotional state that you want to experience more often? So I would love to open this up to some conversation.
That'll be a good one.
So I've actually, in the psychology class, and they're seniors. So, I love this concept of talking about mirror neurons to kids, and to actually getting them into understanding it. And I think those examples are really helpful. And it's funny because just today I did the exact same. I do it all the time. Like now I catch myself. So I had a student write on my board, oh they, oh they, And I went to close the door of my classroom to get our class started. And I guess I was feeling like a creak in my back. And I said it because I saw it and then it was in my head and then I did something and then it just came out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the mirror neuron. It's so funny. It happens all the time. Yes. So I think it's great example.
And I think it's powerful giving that education, right? Because once you're informed about what is happening in your brain, then it changes your behavior and you're more aware of that mirroring. And of course we want to mirror the smiles, right? Smiles are contagious and we want to surround ourselves with smiley people, but we can tend to absorb and mirror out the negative ones. And that's when the education of what's happening becomes powerful because you can recognize that, oh, I'm absorbing this person's emotion, and how can I, step back?
Yeah, I love it. I think those are great examples. Very easy for like elementary school kids to get into that. And the fact that they could learn that much about the brain at a young age and absorb that, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, what I would give to have that information when I was young, right? I mean, all of, the terrible things we have to go through to, to ease our mental state sometimes. And education is power.
Totally agree.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I can go next. And, I thought like, every time people see babies makes you feel good, but I also see that sometimes you want, for example, in a grief situation, it's okay, to be with people who are sad as well. And I tell you because when my grandfather died, I was in the US and I was not able to go to his funeral. And I was surrounded by people who were not in grief, and I was in grief. And my grief lasted, very long time. When my dad died, I was able to go there and spend time with my family. And because I was surrounded by people very close and being in the same grief, it helped me of my own, because you help others and then you feel better yourself. So I see that there are sometimes situations that being with other people who understand your emotions, no matter how you feel, it's really crucial as well.
Right. And that's the empathy component.
That's the empathy.
That is giving that person what they need in that moment and empathizing with what they're going through. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wonderful. So our next video is developing rapport. So let's dive into this one.
What is rapport? Ultimately, it's a state of understanding between you and another person that allows you to connect to them. In order for anyone you communicate with to truly understand and connect to you, they have to feel like they know, like, and trust you. Having a good rapport means being on the same page. You feel like you can relate to another person, or that the two of you have something in common. Sometimes rapport happens naturally, and we feel like we are instantly connected, or we may feel we get along well with each other. This instant rapport is often what sparks friendships to develop, and it's why we naturally get along better with some people than others. However, we need to be able to establish a rapport with everyone, including those with whom we don't naturally connect. The good news is that rapport can be developed. Rapport is developed through physical posture and facial movements. People who have a strong rapport have compatible body language, tone of voice, or facial expressions. You can subtly connect to someone by matching and mirroring them. Matching means that your body movements match theirs. For instance, if their arms are crossed, matching them by crossing your arms. Mirroring means matching your movements as a mirror image of theirs, such as if you are facing them directly. If they lean to the left, you should lean to the right, as if you're a mirror of them. By doing this, the other person will feel that you're on the same wavelength without even knowing why, as their unconscious mind picks up on the fact that you are in sync with them. It's important to note here that your movements should be delayed by at least a few seconds, and they should be subtle. You don't want the person to feel like you're mimicking them. We'll look at 5 ways you can match mirror another person using different parts of your physiology. Way 1. Use your posture, such as leaning forward or leaning back or to the side. Head and shoulder position, such as tilted or slouched. The position of your body or legs, such as sitting or standing or leaning. Way 2, use your gestures. Arm movements such as crossing your arms or leaning on one arm, or any different hand positions and arm gestures that make them expressive. Way 3, use your facial expressions. Smiling, frowning, furrowing of the brows, wide or squinty eyes, blinking, or other expressive facial movements. Way 4, use your breathing. Match the rate of breathing. Is it fast or is it slow? Way 5, use your voice. Tone of voice such as kind or angry. Speed of speech such as fast or slow. And the volume of voice such as yelling or whispering. So by this time, you're probably thinking, how do I know when I have a rapport with someone? You will feel or sense a connection, such as having clicked with the other person. You may observe a change in the person's demeanor or physiology, such as relaxed shoulders or relaxed speech. They may say something indicating the connection, such as, I feel like I've known you forever. You may notice you are now leading them with your matching and mirroring, meaning that initially you were matching, mirroring the other person, but now they, without realizing it, are matching yours. So now when you change your body position, they change theirs.
All right.
Joleen, you want me to do the recap?
Sure. I would love you.
Okay, so I love rapport, so let me do this recap. Rapport is a state of understanding between you and the other person, and it allows you to connect with them. The feeling is to know, like, trust, and have a sense of being on the same page. Rapport can be developed. And I'm going to repeat that one. Rapport can be developed, because I think some people don't think they can do that. You can connect by matching their body language and mirror them in these 5 ways. And they gave 5 specific ways. Way 1, use your posture. Way 2, use your gestures. Way 3, use your facial expressions. I guess that's a good one for me because I've got all kind of weird facial expressions. Way 4, use your breathing. And then way 5, use your voice. And how do you know when you're establishing rapport with somebody else? Well, you'll feel this. You'll get a sense or a feeling of connection. They may even say, "Hey, like Queenie said, oh, I feel like I've known you forever. I just did that here recently, talking about just doing something recently." And then you'll observe a change in their demeanor, their physiology, as they relax their shoulders, or they are relaxed in speech. They say something like, "Feel like I've known you," and then they will now feel like you're leading them and with matching and mirroring. And I can tell you, and I'll throw a little quick story in because we got to do our discussion. Even with in my old role as an administrator, this one of the reasons that Joleen got me was I know administrators are going to love this if you can just get it across to them how powerful it is to have people come in, or parents who are a little upset, and yet we establish a rapport. And I can feel, or I could sense back in the day, people relaxing and just coming calm and calming down because they had an issue to come in to see me. But when they leave, hopefully I've got them laughing, they're relaxed, they feel like the situation is going to be resolved or has been resolved, and it's just a whole change of demeanor. So I know that happens. I've seen it probably more than 1,000 times. But anyway, enough of me. I digress a little bit. Want to get this conversation going. So who wants to jump in and talk?
And I just want to buttress that, is that when we have an encounter where we meeting someone and you're like, oh my gosh, we're best friends, right? I mean, instantly connected and clicked, and we share, similar interests, and we're just, engaged with each other. But you have to build rapport with everyone, as you stated, Calvin. So people that are coming with you in a more confrontational environment, you still need to build that rapport with that person. And that's where these techniques and tools really come into play. So it's almost easy and natural to click with, someone that you find to be your best friend, but it's building that rapport so that you can build it with anyone you need to.
Great point, Joleen. Great. Jackie, Solvega, Chad.
Yeah, this reminds me of thinking about parents. I think this is really important in schools with administrators, but also with teachers when you have parent conferences. And I had a mom that was a couple years ago. She was a night nurse. She worked a lot. She didn't really wasn't feeling she was around a lot, but she knew there was something going on with her child. And I was the advisor. And she just needed someone to listen to her. She just needed someone to be calm and listen, because she was very upset, but not even just upset that her child wasn't doing well in certain subjects, but I could tell she felt bad that she wasn't around. But it's because she was a night nurse. And I think sometimes too, it's reading someone's energy and being, aware of that, and then having an opening of hey, I'm here. It's gonna be calm. I'm gonna listen to you. And I started with let's pick up on some things he's doing well. Let's talk about maybe my relationship with him and what I see in him. And then we can get into the nitty gritty of what is going on. But it's
so what
so
you
true.
did there and what you do there is called a feel-good sandwich.
Yes, that's what it is.
We should always use that all the time. You start with
all the time.
You bleed into nuts and bolts of it, and then you
can't get right to the
another
negative.
positive thing.
Yeah, and you're right about you can build rapport with anybody, but especially in any kind of job or industry, if you want to be successful working as a team, you have to build rapport. So even if you're I don't really jive with this person, you have to find a way, an opening to try to get to know where they're coming from. And I don't know, I think I just always go back to I have a calm demeanor and you're really an active listener. People sometimes will still stay close, but a lot of people will open up and will connect.
Right. Yeah, it is those components. And we're going to tap into communication skills here in the next couple of videos. But I think it's, it's matching and mirroring them, right? So if you can bring yourself so that, you're mirroring their movements slowly and they feel you're engaged and, you're with them, that is a, pretty quick way to kind of get on the same ground with people for rapport. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So our next video is developing empathy. Let me get this set up for us.
Empathy is the ability to relate to or understand another person's emotional state. By developing your emotional intelligence, including your understanding of your own emotions, you'll naturally become more empathetic because you'll recognize and understand others' emotions more easily. There are several misunderstandings surrounding empathy that are important to address. First, empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is feeling for someone, while empathy is feeling as someone. For example, you may feel badly for someone who is going through a hard time, meaning you feel bad about their situation. Empathy, on the other hand, is putting yourself in their shoes or stepping into their character and feeling as they would feel in that situation. Secondly, being empathetic means being able to put yourself aside. Empathizing allows you to acknowledge how someone's feeling without having to approve or agree. Your opinion is irrelevant. You aren't trying to solve their problem. You are simply listening or observing and tuning into how they are feeling. Putting yourself aside also means refraining from imagining how you would feel if you were them, because it's not about you, it's about them. And thirdly, healthy empathy means not giving away your power. You want to keep your emotions grounded. Empathizing with someone who is feeling sadness, frustration, or anger means you'll take on those feelings, but they're just temporary. Getting emotional yourself will not benefit the situation. This is especially important if you are a highly empathetic person who becomes overwhelmed when triggered by other people's emotions. If this is the case, it's important to remember that you are feeling your emotions, not theirs, and that you can practice choosing not to allow yourself to be so strongly impacted by others' emotions. The trick then is to be able to use your emotional intelligence and ability to empathize in order to understand other people. Yet at the same time, protect yourself from getting sucked into their negative emotional state. We talked about how you can build rapport by mirroring another person, but you can also avoid being negatively impacted by someone else's emotions by disengaging physically. Meaning, make sure you are not mirroring those postures, facial expressions, or body language. When someone else is upset and you need to keep your emotional state intact, take a deep breath and break some gaze with them. For instance, if they are sad and slouching, make sure your shoulders are high. If they're angry and furrowing their brows, make sure you relax your face. This will help you avoid accidentally empathizing to the point that you stir those negative emotions within yourself, leading to you not being able to think clearly, because you remember what happens to your rational brain when emotions kick in. Yep, you guessed it. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex part of your brain, and all rational thinking is turned off. So, next time you find yourself around someone who is upset, practice empathizing by observing their behaviors, body language, their facial expressions, and other gestures and cues to determine what emotion they are feeling. Understand the situation that is causing them to feel this way. If you don't know, ask yourself, what could it be? But if you do know the situation, could it be that something else, something deeper, is adding to their emotional state? And if so, what could that be? Then ask, how would I feel if I were in this situation? At this point, you now want to consider how you would feel and ask yourself, what if I were them? Based on your understanding of this person, what do you think they are thinking about this situation? How are they judging it? Or what is their perspective? Can you see why they would feel that way because of their perspective? Once you answer this, then you can step into their shoes and imagine what they are feeling and thinking by using your empathy.
All right.
Right.
So, recap empathy is the ability to relate to or understand another person's emotional state. By developing your emotional intelligence, which is your intrapersonal skills, your own personal skills, and interpersonal skills, your social skills, by building your emotional intelligence in that way, you'll naturally become more empathetic because you'll be able to understand and recognize emotions more easily. So empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is feeling for someone. Empathy is feeling as someone. To avoid being so strongly impacted by others' negative emotional states while empathizing, you can disengage physically by not matching or mirroring them. You want to avoid stirring negative emotions in yourself And so we touch on something in this video that we have not watched in past videos, and that is that once our amygdala, our fight or flight, our high emotional state, part of our brain kicks on, then simultaneously our prefrontal cortex shuts off. It's just, that's how it happens. And so our prefrontal cortex is our rational thinking. That's why when you're really frustrated, you sometimes ask yourself, why did I say that? Why did I do that? And it's because your rational brain was off. It had no control. So to get that prefrontal cortex turned back on, you need to calm yourself. You need to do a breathing to calm yourself, to re-click that prefrontal cortex back on so that your rational thinking clicks back on and you can handle the situation that you're in. Who has had that experience of fight or flight amygdala kicking on and all rational thinking turned off? Me.
Well, I'm sure you probably all had it. I know I've had it. I got to raise both hands.
Yes. So
My brother coming over my house on Memorial Day weekend. Amygdala.
Amygdala just on fire.
I'm like my baby brother. I want to be like
prefrontal cortex completely off.
I'm like, just shut up.
Hey, but let me go back to something that Jackie did good. Maybe she didn't do good with her baby brother, but she did really, really good when she told that story. When you told that story, Jackie, about the night nurse, and you put yourself in her shoes, you really did, which allowed you to build rapport. So you can see how some of these things connect, how they all connect, really. But you did that. You put yourself in her shoes. I have this great quote that I didn't even realize all of this stuff, Joleen, way back in the day. And I had to learn by trial and error. I'll just be honest. I messed up a whole lot. And I probably went to the part where I just got upset and I just said, the heck with it. And I didn't really want to deal with people. I had to learn over time that you're going to have to deal with people, Chad. We're having to deal with people. So, but I have this quote. It comes from To Kill a Mockingbird. And it's the quote when he's talking to his daughter and she talks about, well, how do you understand people? The only way you can understand them is you have to almost get in their skin. You walk around in their shoes. And what you do with that empathy is you develop a ability to get in and then get out, because you don't stay there. So like Queenie was saying, I don't stay there, especially if the person is upset and whatnot. But I have to put myself in the why is this happening? And then I can deal with it better and I can do the right things with my brain and the way I need to do it. I'm not as agile with this as Joleen, but I know it's real, and these techniques are really, really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes, yes, and yes. So it's the basis for emotional theater, right? We allow you to step into character and portray out their emotions. And that's kind of the key, that it's not what it's not about you, right?
Yeah.
It is, Jackie identifying that this was a ER nurse that worked midnights, and she was able to understand her point of view through her lens.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool deal.
Okay, our last one is effective listening.
Listen, the good news is that many problems get resolved simply by truly listening. Today at Emotional Theater, we'll explore a 4-step listening technique that will make all of your conversations, especially the difficult ones, go more smoothly and be more effective. Step 1, stop talking. Let the other party have the entire floor. Invite the other party to share their thoughts and feelings. Let it be about them. No interrupting, no rebutting, no explaining. Maintain eye contact without intense staring at each other. No problem solving, just listening attentively. The point of listening is to understand. After listening, if a solution is needed, you can both discuss possible strategies. However, often the person will solve their own problem if you just listen. Step 2, mirror, paraphrase what you hear in your own words. When the other party has finished sharing their thought, repeat what they told you back to them in a summary, using your own words. This is called paraphrasing, and it helps them feel that you heard and understood them. Start by saying, "So, what you're saying is," followed by your summary, and then conclude with asking, "Is that correct?" Then, once they either confirm you understood what they said or they clarify what they meant, ask them, "Is there more?" This is important because often the first concern the other party brings up is not the real issue. Step 3, validate. Once their message has been expressed and understood, the next step is to validate that what they think and feel makes sense to them. Keep in mind, this does not mean you have to agree with them. It only means that you express that it makes sense, that they would see things from their perspective. Pay special attention to how the other party expresses how they felt, and validate their emotions over anything else they've said. Your goal is to empathize with them, expressing that regardless of the situation, you understand how they feel. Here are 2 example statements you could use. "I see where you're coming from. What you're saying makes sense." Or, "I can see how you could feel this way. I would probably feel that way too." Step 4, share and help problem solve. After you've effectively listened, understood, and validated, it is time for you to share your own thoughts and help problem solve the situation. Keep these tips in mind. Speak for yourself. When talking about the other person's behaviors, do not mind read and assume. Don't go on and on. Be succinct, to the point, and focused on outcomes. Talk slow to set the pace for the conversation. Pause to allow the listener to paraphrase back to you. Then throw out all of your best problem-solving solutions that you sleuthed from your effective listening skills.
All right. Do you want to recap that one, Calvin?
I'll do it real quick. All right. So with effective listening, most problems get resolved by truly listening. And again, the key is truly listening, because I think, I'll throw this in, I think most people think they're listening when really they're waiting to get their fire off their volley. So you got to listen. Step 4, it's a 4-step process. And the first step is stop talking and listen. Step 2, paraphrase what you heard, ask if it's correct, and then if there's more. So you kind of slow it down, but you get that clarity. Step 3, validate and empathize with them. And then step 4, share and help problem solve. And so I guess we'll go right into the conversation with this one if we can.
Yep. So what I heard you saying, Calvin,
okay,
is that we should stop talking and listen.
Yes.
Paraphrase what we heard and ask if it's correct and if there is more. Right. Validate and empathize with them, and share and help problem solve.
Correct. You got it.
Is there more?
I can't think of any more unless Chad, Solvega, or Jackie have something that they like to share.
So effective listening is kind of right what Calvin had said at first, is that a lot of times we're listening, but we're building what we're going to say in our head, right? So we're not truly listening, right? We're like having a conversation in our head that we're going to spit out in a few seconds, right? And so stop talking means also stop talking in your head. Like,
Correct.
turn it off, just listen. No crafting, what your rebuttal is going to be. No,
Hey, Joleen, I just thought about this, but this is one, we're talking about in an organization, a team or a school or whatever, but this is marriage 101 too, because usually I see Jackie laughing over there.
Period,
She's
right?
a good wife. I'm not always a good husband. So usually you're trying to fire off, getting ready to fire off what your salvo is going to be instead of listening, truly listening. And then, okay, now what is it? And then doing these 4 steps. These 4 steps would be very effective in terms of coming to a resolution, probably a very good one, and whatever the problem was to begin with. And it probably, like, I think you said it, or maybe Queenie said it, Queenie said it, the first stuff that comes out usually is not the real stuff. It's like once you start getting down underneath the layers, then you get to the real issue, and then now how can we problem solve? So yeah.
Right. And if you let somebody talk, they usually will talk out the solution, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you give somebody the whole floor and let them get all of that out, they usually get out the problem. Yeah. Eventually comes out. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And I think, yes, marriages, but yes, friendships, right?
Friendships, right. Anything that, like, you got
everything interacting with 2 humans, right? I mean, being able to communicate solves all kinds of things that a lot of times we like to bottle up. Just talk it out. Let's just have a conversation. Let's just, find some resolution.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot so in the work environment, is very, very, very important.
Indeed.
All right. So here are the 4 things we learned in today's EQ and U session. So we have mirror neurons in our brain that fire when we observe actions performed by others that trigger us to engage in the same action. Rapport is a state of understanding between you and another person that allows you to connect with them. Empathy is the ability to relate to or understand another person's emotional state. And number 4 is that most problems get resolved by truly listening. So we hope that these insights will help you in building your EQ stronger, and that you will continue to learn and grow with Emotional Theater's resources and tools. So I dropped in the side note the link to the EQ and U section of the website. And Kelvin and I would greatly appreciate if you jump in there and fill out the little questionnaire that we have about how this session was and what we did great and what we could do better at, so that we can grow this program stronger. And so if any of you are interested in learning more about emotional theater, there is a link on the homepage for a theater tour where I can go through all of the tools and resources that emotional theater has to offer and craft anything that suits your immediate need for use. So if that is personal development, if it's bringing it into a business setting or bringing it into a school environment or etc., we have different packages and tools that apply to all of those. So in closing, we encourage you to continue on your journey of emotional intelligence and to practice the tools and techniques that we shared with you today. And remember that building EQ is a lifelong journey. It's not something that we're going to walk out of here tonight with all of the high EQ already instilled. It is something that you work on and you work on and you work on, and it becomes easier and it becomes more effortless, and you quickly reach for those tools and techniques in your situations, and you pull yourself back to a happier state and spend less time in the negative ones. And everything that we think about that plays in our head, our thoughts, are our emotions. So remember that you have control to change your thoughts, and it's not something that takes place overnight, but as you practice it, you get better and better at it, and you can either completely change your thought to something more pleasant that you wish to think about, or you can find a new perspective on that negative thought and incrementally work your way to a more positive state. So I thank everybody for coming to this session and being here and experiencing this with us. And if there's any closing conversation that we would like to have, we have a good 4 minutes to do it.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah,
Very
thank you so much.
educational.
Thank you. And thank you for putting up with me in my car and getting to my home office. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Hey.
no worries. Yeah.
You made the effort, Chad. You didn't have to even do that. So we're appreciative of you.
Yeah. Good job on all those videos. I don't know how you pulled them off, but that was a pretty good presentation on those.
So emotional theater, with those augmented reality costumes, feel that the power of play should not be lost in our adulthood. So I'm glad that you enjoyed those.
Hey, Chad and everybody, you should think in terms of how long it took Joleen to put all this amazing work together. I mean, her creativity is out of the kazoo. So I'm just amazed at how much I'm here. I hope I can help out in a small way, but man, she's done all the groundwork, and then it's just a matter of me making squeak. I guess I could grease the skids and use some of these techniques to get into some doorways, because once I think you talk to people, I think they realize how powerful some of this is. And it is powerful.
It is. And I want to get that in the world, right? I mean, think how much happier people could be with these tools and resources, right? I mean, and embrace it, and grow their EQ stronger, and be just happier in their lives and in their interactions.
And have fun with it, because you
have fun with it.
Yeah, I was thinking about, you could totally do this as like an activity where you had, again, I'm just thinking back with students, but like do different scenarios with like active listening, and each person has to be the active listener, and then you can have them reflect on, well, how did you feel being the recipient of the active listening, and then also, what was it like to be an active listener? I'm sure many of them, especially if it was new, saying, oh, that was really hard to do. And then they can catch themselves of like, yeah, the default is to interject and share solutions. And my goodness, adults do this all the time. I do it. Like I do it all the time. Adults do it all the time.
They should do it. I'm going back to what Chad said earlier. Some of this you could use in a team. You could, have your teams do it, have them role play a little bit, and then see how that, But it's
Yes. So keep noodling how these tools and techniques can get out in the world. And I would love to hear your ideas and suggestions and thoughts about it, for sure.
For sure.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. We successfully did this in 1 hour.
Yeah, we did it.
Yay to us.
That's impressive. A lot of people go over.
we did the last time, but we did it. We're getting
4 minutes last time. I mean, it was right there. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So this will get edited and be up on the website for review, as well as the link that's in the side chat has the full first session if you want to recap that. That was all our intrapersonal skills were discussed in that session. So thank you.
So Vega, thank you for being a 2-timer.
Yeah, so Vega, thank you so much for being here twice.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was so
too.
wonderful.
Nice to meet you all. Yep.
Nice to meet you
Chad.
all.
Thank
Okay.
you. Take
Yep.
care.
Bye.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jackie.
Bye.